Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host Brian, and we don't know where he is. He's playing Mech Warrior Online right now. Your co-host Jim might join us in a little bit. Also joining us is your co-host Spaz.
Hello.
And your co-host Hunter.
New time, same great place.
I mean, the thing that bugs me about games like Mech Warrior Online is you can't just stop when you want to. You know what I mean? Like, he might be in the middle of a match and he can't leave yet. You know what I mean? So that bugs me about games like that. So he might not be able to join us yet because he's got to finish his match. You know, which I guess is kind of. So, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Since it is 2019 and the year is wrapping up, we thought we would have not like an actual, we're not giving out awards, but we're going to like present this as kind of an award show. We're going to talk about some of the best and worst space games of the decade and it's going to be for a variety of reasons. We have several categories. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, we have like 10 categories. That's a lot. So we're going to go through and talk about quite a few games. And we have quite a few awesome winners. So, hang on. So, the first category, was there any big news, by the way? I don't think there was any big news. Not that I can remember. I don't think there was anything big. No,
nothing too crazy.
No, nothing really big. Okay, let's just jump into it then. So the first topic is the space games we are saddest about for a variety of reasons, and this could be like, and our nominees are the Viceroy because that game is great and the company went belly up because no one bought it. Star Ruler 2 for the same reason. Dangerous for the same reason. Objects in Space because it was released and then subsequently abandoned by its developer, which was really just annoying. Orbital Racer pretty much for the same reason. One, it was abandoned shortly after release, and two, they made a Switch version which had multiplayer, whereas the PC version didn't. So we're just like a little salty about that one because it's a great game when it works. Because it's still buggy. And then Landinar Into the Void, we're sad about that one because that was a good game, but the company still had. Did they fold or did they just abandon the game? I can't remember.
Financial issues, not enough people bought in, so they had to abandon development. They may still be patching. I don't know at this point. It's kind of hard to say. But it looks like they're not going to be able to do much more with it, which is unfortunate because it had so much potential.
It really did. So we agreed that the winner, quote unquote winner of this category is Orbital Racer because we're mad that it lacked multiplayer because, I mean, if it had multiplayer, people would still be playing it. Like, to this day, I think. People love racing games. It is such a unique racing game. But also, it's still got bugs. Like, I can't set up my throttle with it to this day for some reason. I don't know why. It sees my pedals and it sees my joystick, but not my throttle. So it's very frustrating. And also, the campaign still crashes out every now and again. So even if I do get it working, I can't be sure my campaign progress will stick. So that one's just really sad. So, on a happier note, the next category is the best co-op experience. Now, this isn't just space games, because, to be honest, there aren't a ton of co-op space games. There are a few, like Pulsar Lost Colony, which is on this list, and Space Beast Terrafright kind of fits, and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, clearly. But we've also done quite a bit of co-op with Dying Light, with Gene Shift, and with Deep Rock Galactic, and we all really had to give the nod to Deep Rock Galactic because every time we've played it, it's just been better and better. And it's just never really been frustrating. It's always been fun. And they keep making it better and adding to it. Like they aren't resting on their laurels. Yeah, we fail, it's our fault, and they keep adding to it. They're not resting on their laurels. They're just now adding end game content. You can play solo. Playing solo is very viable, which in a game like this is rare. That's one of the reasons I gave it the nod, because you can still play it solo, which is great. Like, I really enjoyed what is that Warhammer co-op game?
Vermintide?
Yes, Vermintide. I really enjoyed Vermintide, but you cannot play that solo, like, at all. And it's frustrating because I'd like to play it, but by myself, like, once in a while. So, because it's got so many great features and it's just so well made, it's not even done yet. We're giving the nod to Deep Rock Galactic as, for our money, the best co-op experience of this decade. Yes, we know it's not done, but even so, it is still the best co-op experience we've had. And yeah, we haven't really touched Left 4 Dead or anything like that, whatever. But based on what we've played, that's the winner.
There's also like Infinity Battlescape, which we haven't really touched yet because it just came out.
And it's also like, I need a bit of direction with that game. I played it once or twice, and I'm like, what am I doing? So I need a little more. I think I'm going to let it sit in the oven and bake a little bit longer before I play that one. So the next category is the space game with the longest legs. This is a tough one because the space games that have the longest legs are older than a decade, like Free Space 2, like Homeworld. Those games that people are still making mods for. But they didn't come out in this decade, so like it was tough to find games that really like people are playing years and years and years after the fact, because it's only been like 10. So we have 3 categories on this one. Stellaris, which is very popular. People are still modding it, and it's about to get a new expansion. I think they announced at PDXCon. Maybe that was the big news of the week.
And they're still updating it, and they're coming out with a mobile game.
Oh God.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This might not be fair, but we put Star Trek Online on the list because yes, it's an MMO, but to their credit, they do keep adding stuff to it. We've gotten back into it around here in a big way. And me especially was impressed with just how much stuff there is in it. Like, there's just so much content, and they just keep adding stuff. They keep, like, I was doing I got a quest and it had to do with discovery. Like, I didn't know that was happening. But I get this level 4 quest and I think it's about Klingons. Nope, it's about the mycelial network. Like, what? And they're bringing in a holographic Stamets. Like, what? Okay. That was kind of great, actually. I kind of liked it.
To their credit, I mean, they have added so much stuff over the years.
Yeah.
And gotten a good number of the voice actors to reprise their roles, which is it's a nice treat for those of us who have been in the game for a while, left, and then come back. There's more stuff for us to come back to.
Here's another thing about it that I noticed recently is I'm starting a character for all the different things you can start characters for. So like I've got a Romulan, I've got a Klingon, I've got a human Federation. I'm wanting to do a TOS character, but I just started a Discovery character, and so Tilly, Cadet Tilly, is actually your like tutorial person for this.
Aww.
But what's interesting about it is when you start playing through it, you are limited to just a version of the galaxy that is from Discovery. So like you don't even interact with like when you're starting out. Now eventually you can go into like where everybody else is. They limit you, and there's other players around too that are in this area as well. They limit you to that time period of space. And I thought that was rather interesting that they did that. And one of the things that I was noticing in one of the missions is there was a captain who was an Andorian who was named Captain Shran, and I said, that voice sounds familiar.
Is it Jeffrey Combs?
And the TOS start is the same way. You're limited in scope of the map, just as you're going through the tutorial, and then after you get out of the tutorial, you're in the big wider world, so to speak.
That's pretty cool. That's but you still can get all the ships and stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, once you're out of the tutorial, you've got access to all the tier 6 ships that you bought. So
that's cool. And we didn't mention Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, which we think is the winner here. I mean, it came out in 2014, so it's 6 years old, and people are still modding it. People are still playing it. People are playing it competitively. When did that big Armada 3 mod come out? Was that last year? It was last year.
Well, no. It's been out for a while, but they've been adding their own versions of expansions to it.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Rebellion itself was just updated earlier this year. So
which is
it's
crazy.
Still getting supported officially. And then the mods themselves are getting beefed up on top of that.
Yeah, folks, if you've not played Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, it's an impressive thing. Now, if you're looking for like a straight up campaign, no, it's more of a skirmishy thing. But that's fine. But it's like it's really impressive, and it's just weird how there hasn't been a sequel at all. Like you'd think
it technically doesn't need one because they've just been expanding on it already.
I suppose.
As I said, this
didn't it have a new DLC last year, I think, or something?
Last year and then this year as well.
What? Okay, yeah. So that's the clear winner right there, I think. Base game with the longest legs. Though the other ones,
and there are a lot of games with mods. Stellaris has a ton of mods.
Tons of mods.
But then again, they're still updating the game, changing the balance around, new expansions. It's kind of hard to pin that as having longer legs than Rebellion, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, they're both great, but if I had to play one or the other, I'd probably want to play Sins more than Stellaris. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge Sins player, but I've had more fun in my time with definitely with Sins than Stellaris, which is kind of a shame. Sort of, I guess. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, we want it to be good.
Yeah, we'd love it to be good. We'd love it to be good.
And there are aspects of it we've enjoyed. They've just changed around the balance so much over the last few years that it's kind of hard to pin down where it is now. To be fair, though, they are making it better over time. So once they've kind of pinned down what they want it to be, I'm going to dive back in.
But will they, though? I mean, look how long Crusader Kings 2 got expansions before.
Well, I'll say this, though. I agree with what you're saying, but I'll say this, though, about it. In its most current state, it's actually the best it's ever been.
I'll grant you that. Yeah, sure. I just haven't taken the time to dive back into it.
I guess still skeptical. I am, but I will. I mean, I guess I'll find time somewhere to give it a shot. I mean, sure there'll be a sale on its DLC. Do you need all the DLC to really enjoy it, or can you just dive in with what you have?
You can dive in with what you got.
Okay, good, because I'd rather be sure if I like it before giving them any more money.
Yeah, wait for a sale kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And grab the DLC.
And there are 3 sales coming up. Holy crap, did you guys see that? 3. There's the the Halloween sale, and then there's the autumn sale, and then there's the winter sale. So October, November, and December are all having big sales. Like
every year.
What? Is that true? Like, did they have 3 last year? Or was it? I only remember the autumn and the winter.
Yes,
but now
Steam always runs 3 sales, and that's not even including the other stores as well.
Okay. It's gonna be tough now that I'm underemployed. It's gonna be real tough to fight that temptation to buy stuff. So much stuff, but I gotta enjoy what I got. Like Star Trek Online, I should play more of that. And
yes, you should.
Yeah, we need more people in our fleet.
Or you can play Galaxies with me.
I gotta play that too. And I'm going through the campaign of Destiny 2 right now. I'm getting a feel for that. Really enjoying it actually. So maybe once I'm done with those. Because that's actually surprisingly good. I'm surprised how much I like that one.
Good.
All right, where were we? Oh, yeah. The next category, and this is a tough one, best writing. Because writing is usually not a hallmark of a lot of space games. Like, a lot of games try to have good writing, and some do, but a lot are just like, meh. And to be fair, video game writing has never been a high art. So when it's really good, it's like, wow. But a lot of the time, it's okay. So we have.
I had to make a last-minute addition to that list.
I saw that, and you're not wrong in that one. So we have 4 nominees for this category. Ring Runner, which came out 1,000,000 years ago. But if you guys played that one, you'll remember how funny it is. Like, at one point, I think you had to get some kind of peanut butter cup to save your ship, for example. It's hilarious. The campaign in that game is hilarious. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is a clear favorite because not only is the story really great, but the dialogue, especially from characters like Sharky and whatnot, is just fantastic. I mean, you really fall in love with some of the characters, and also the commercials. Like, what space game has commercials and good commercials? But those commercials are hilarious. I don't know how many of y'all remember this one, Icarus Starship Command Simulator. That was like kind of a first-person FTL and funny. That came out, what, 3 or 4 years ago? I think. 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, we had the dev on the podcast.
Yeah, we had him, and he was also very funny.
Yes,
he was also very funny. That was a very funny podcast. But if you guys haven't played that one, that you're in for a treat, because that game does not take itself seriously at all, and it's better for it. Like, so many space games are so serious. But that one decidedly is not. And finally, Star Traders Frontiers, because there really is less of a campaign in that one and more of a lot of world building and dialogue, and it's all very good. Like, it's very good world building. It's very good dialogue, and it really definitely adds color and texture to the world that you're inhabiting in a way that a lot of space games just don't or can't. I mean, it's a great game in and of itself, but it really does have good writing. That said, we had to give the nod to Rebel Galaxy Outlaw again, because not just of its story, which again is quite good, but all of the side, like all of your buddies, their little mini campaigns, you get to unlock them. They're all funny, and a lot of the dialogue, even the repetitive dialogue, can be really great. And I don't know if you would consider this writing, but just the scream that they make when you kill the pilots. Yeah, I can listen to that 1,000 times. So, like, the sound,
super cathartic.
Yeah, super cathartic. So the sound and the writing, especially in that game, is great. But yeah, we definitely had to give that one to Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, because it had a really great story. The next up is the next one is a category near and dear to my heart, best soundtrack. Now, we couldn't have a lot of nominees for this one because there are a lot of great soundtracks out there, but not a lot of space games with great soundtracks. I mean, some of them have good good soundtracks, but like a lot of them aren't memorable because like a lot of them are like, ooh, spacey technophonics. It's like kind of a lot of the same stuff a lot of the time. So we picked a few soundtracks that are different. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is also in this running because, damn, they licensed so much good music for that game. Even if you're not into rock, if you're into jazz or big band or,
you have options plus the custom soundtrack options.
Yeah, plus custom soundtrack options. Really Big Sky. That was a shooter that came out in the early part of the decade, but had a really great thumping techno soundtrack that actually kind of reacted to the game, which was really good. And finally, 3030 Death War Redo, which has a multi-layered soundtrack. Like you can set it up so like if you're in a base, it'll only play like kind of country music. But while you're flying, it'll play the music from this band called the Kyoto Connection, who is an Argentinian band who love Japanese culture. And they made this synth rock album called No Headphones Required that is prominently featured in this game's soundtrack. And it is absolutely astounding. Just... Oh, that's why Jim isn't joining us. Does he have no voice, I guess? Is that what's happening?
No, he's still recovering from the boat plague that he got on
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay, well...
Yeah.
Everyone send best wishes and good healing vibes to Jim so he gets better soon. Because yeah, no one wants boat plague, and he got... I mean, I don't even know why anyone goes on a cruise anymore. After all these...
Yeah, from my understanding, the sorry to like side. My understanding is that there's actually been like an increase of the those things happening on cruises over the last several years. It's been like
it's in the news like repeatedly, like fairly
constantly. Yeah. Part of it is if they don't thoroughly sanitize those rooms before taking on next people, that's what happens.
Oh, gee. It makes me want to never go on a cruise. To be perfectly honest, I kind of never want to go on a cruise after this. Then again, I have friends who go on cruises regularly, like once or twice a year, and they've never had a problem. So I don't know. Maybe it's a luck thing. I don't know. Anyway, we had to give best soundtrack to 3030 Death War because
without a doubt.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was completely unanimous.
Yeah, there was no backseat forthies about that one. That one was like, I mean, we all love Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. We all love Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, but 3030 Death War like just gets it. It like when you leave that station for the first time and you hear that 80s synth pop from the Kyoto Connection kick in, you're like, oh my god, this is the perfect music for a space game. Why don't more space games have this kind of music? You're flying around shooting and dodging nebulas and like listening to Argentinian Japanese 80s synth pop, and you're like, this is perfect. This is utterly perfect. It is truly the perfect like soundtrack for that game.
It's almost like when you dock at spaceports, I almost feel like it's a perfect blend of Blade Runner meets Fire.
Oh my god, it's the 1980s adventure game aesthetic. They have the LucasArts Indiana Jones adventure game aesthetic they have for the space stations. Oh my god, and the space stations you can not only set the music differently, like you can have just one type of music in space and just one type of music in the stations, or you can have whatever going whenever. I think it was one of the first games I ever saw that also had a YouTube safe mode, So that was, I thought, a really nice touch. So that alone, I mean, guys, if you don't own 3030 Death War yet, buy it just for the soundtrack, if nothing else. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. I mean, it's a great game, but the soundtrack alone is worth the price of admission. No lie.
Agreed.
No lie. Like, I listen to it when I'm driving. I have it on my phone. I listen to it when I'm driving. It is great. Like, just listen. It is great. I sometimes just listen to it just because I want to have something pump me up. Like, I need to get motivated. You know? I had to get motivated.
And
so
there are two games that I would say have a great soundtrack, but the games themselves were just disappointing. So I didn't nominate them for this list, because if the soundtrack is the best part of the game, you're just getting the game for the soundtrack, and that's not really fair.
Yeah, just buy the soundtrack. Like Stellaris has a great soundtrack, but yeah.
And you can actually buy just the album if you go to the Kyoto Connection website. But the game is worth it too.
But in this case, it's a great game with a great soundtrack. Yeah. So it's a win-win. That's why it wins.
It's a win-win. It's a total win-win. Clearly, it's a win-win. All right, the next category is kind of a downer. It's the most disappointing space game, and we had quite a few entries for this one because it's been kind of a rough decade. We narrowed it down to 6. There have been more disappointing space games, but these were the most disappointing ones. The Long Journey Home, if you remember, was a Starflight-esque space action adventure game that had terrible controls, and the controls pretty much ruined the game. The writing wasn't
because
bad.
The difficulty was already punishing.
Oh God, yeah,
and then bad controls on top of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that just made it very difficult. But this is one of those where I say the soundtrack is actually better than the game.
The soundtrack is better than the game.
It's an excellent soundtrack.
Best part of that whole experience is the soundtrack. No lie. I put Star Drive 2 on the list because of how it was abandoned. And I don't think it ever really fulfilled its potential, and it was abandoned before it could. So that was really disappointing, I thought. Strike Suit Zero, I don't know if y'all have ever played this one. This is like kind of it's not strictly anime, but it's kind of anime-esque, kind of, what would you call that? Not Robotech, but like...
Yeah, it's in that vein. Yeah,
Zone of the Enders. It was trying to be like a Zone of the Enders style mecha game. And it was kind of fun until you actually were able to unlock the strike suit and found just how immobile you were with it. I don't know if you guys remember this, but like there were 2 modes in that game, and you were a plane and you were like the mech. And when you were the plane, you could fly around, zippity doo, boom, boom, boom. When you were the mech, you were basically a turret. Just basically spin around and move a little bit. Like, that's it. And it really hobbled the gameplay. Because it wasn't a bad game, but like the lack of movement was just... Ugh.
In the mech mode, you felt more like a turret than a mech.
Yeah, exactly. The next game on the list is... This had to be on here. Sword of the Stars 2, The Lords of Winter. Because Swords of the Stars 1 was so good. One of the best 4X games of the last 30 years. No doubt. And yet, we're still not really... We've had the developer on the show twice. And we're still never really clear about what the hell happened with this one. Like... Did Paradox rush it out the door? Was it too ambitious? You know, whose fault was it? We really don't know. But it was just a... I tried playing it multiple times, and I just can't do it. I can't. Even with they had an enhanced version where they claimed to fix a lot of stuff, and even that, it's just like, no. Excuse me, no thank you. Maybe I should stream it. Maybe I should hate stream it. I'm going to add that to the list. hate stream Sword of the Stars 2. I think that'd be funny.
You could hate drunk stream it.
No, I'm never doing that.
Not happening again.
I am never doing that again. Never doing that again. Oh my God, that was so embarrassing.
Yeah, it was bad last time, so it's probably for the best that there will never be another instance of that.
You know what, Brian? You still need to play the Alien Isolation game with the lights off by yourself.
Nope.
You know, with Halloween just around the corner, it'd make a great stream.
The sad thing is, we can't do a. Well, you know what? I can't do the lights off because I stream in the morning. But fine, I will put frickin'.
Yes, do it.
Fine. Fine.
I'll tell you what. I will also stream this, and you can come and watch me, and we'll have a good time.
I'm not. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. But fine. That'll be my Halloween stream. I was thinking,
see, I thought something like Space Beast Terror Fright would have worked better for a Halloween stream, but that's just me.
No, I think we should do that as a co-op stream. Yes.
Well, sadly, we can't do a co-op stream that night because I've got family obligations. So, I'm sorry. I don't know if you saw on the calendar, but we can't do a Thursday. Maybe we could do it another
not with
night.
that timing.
Yeah, not. But you know what? I'm gonna move this. Fine. I'm gonna do the Alien. What's it called? Alien what? What's it called?
Alien Isolation.
Fine. I'm gonna stream that on Halloween morning.
Excellent.
Fine.
Good.
I'm so scared.
Good.
3 hours should be enough to get to the scary bits, right? Because last time I only had an hour.
You have
that's
to
how it ended up working.
At least 3.
Okay, yeah, 3 is my usual thing. So, sorry, folks, slight tangent.
Sorry, folks, you're gonna thank me later.
God damn it! I'm so mad. I'm so mad right now. So bloody mad. Okay. Yeah, I'm really mad, but fine. I'll do it. So, Halloween morning, folks. I'm gonna be having a heart attack. Playing Alien Isolation. God damn it, Hunter. You win. Fine. You win.
Trick or treat.
Son of a bitch. Son of a goddamn. Okay. Okay. Fine. Sure. Yes. Okay.
Never mind the xenomorph holding up the free hugs sign.
That's hysterical.
Fine. I'll do it. I love you guys. I'll do it. Fine. I'll do it. And I'm going to be on camera. Even better. Yeah, because it'll be a stream. It'll be a morning stream, so I'll be on camera. There you go.
Yes, my body's ready, Brian. I'm so ready.
Oh boy. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, we're still on most disappointing game. And then how did we get on Alien? I don't even remember now. And then our final entrant nominee for that one is Into the Stars. If you recall, that was going to be an FTL style kind of third person action adventure thing that just turned out to be the most boring thing. Like, it wasn't even bad. It was just dull, which might be worse, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
The combat was kind of like an active time battle system in the vein of a Final Fantasy, except it was color coded. So if they fired a yellow projectile at you, you had to put up your yellow shields in order to block the hit. And it was disappointing. Now, I will say this was the other game I was thinking of in terms of excellent soundtrack, not so great game.
Yeah, I felt like I was playing Simon when I was. Remember Simon, the beep boop boop thing?
A bit like that.
I felt like I was playing Simon when I was playing combat in that game.
Red, blue, yellow, blue,
exactly.
blue, yellow.
Yes.
What? What? Stop.
I backed the game. I wanted to like it, and
I know. Yeah, me too.
The only thing that I ended up liking about it was the soundtrack.
Yeah, we paid.
It's a great soundtrack.
It was it was an expensive soundtrack, but it was a good soundtrack. The game,
I mean,
we paid for the soundtrack.
The soundtrack was by Jack Wall, who many of us would know. Yes, from Mass Effect and other properties. Yeah, which is why it's so great.
Yes.
But then again, the game didn't hold up to that. Sadly.
Such a shame. All right. We're getting into the final 3 categories. The next category is most surprising space game. And we have a lot of nominees for this one because the thing about indie space games is that they all want to be great, and a lot of them are, but like sometimes you run into one that's just unassuming, and then you play it and you're like, wow, this is something special. And that doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. The nominees for this one are Starfleet Armada Rogue Adventures, which you remember is that very 90s looking randomized space adventure game where you could land on planets and board ships, and the graphics were very early 90s, but the gameplay was just absolutely astounding. Like, there were layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of gameplay.
And that UI, too.
Yeah.
It looks so daunting.
There's not,
so much information.
It's not daunting. Once you play the tutorial, you're like, this all makes freaking sense. And
it looks daunting, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It appears daunting at first glance, but once you get into it, wow.
Exactly. Yeah. It kind of came out of, a lot of these came out of nowhere too. It came out of nowhere, and it stole my heart for a while. The next one was at least a surprise to me. It's called Beyond Soul, which I played recently on the decade or the anniversary stream, because I think it's one of the most surprising and better games of the last decade. If you haven't played it, it's kind of a mix of Civilization in space, but with a third-person action adventure mode where you fight and mine for your own space city. And there's diplomacy, in which you can make alliances and you can make war, and you can build up your city and make more ships and make a big fleet. It's just so much going on. It's got a multi-layered economic and diplomacy model. It's a really impressive game that I wish more people had played, because you can play it multiplayer too. Totally play it multiplayer, and it's excellent. This one I think was more surprise to me than anyone else, but Boss Constructor. I don't know if y'all played that one. That was kind of a build your own ship and then take it out into a procedurally generated universe game. And when this was announced, there were a lot of games like that, like Reassembly and a few others, and a bunch of others, which is like top-down 2D, build your own ship, then fight it with stuff. Okay, we've done this before, but this I think was the best of that breed. That's why it surprised me so much, because it's got so much gameplay in there. If you guys don't own Boss Constructor, get it on a sale. It's got so much gameplay. It's got campaigns. It's got single missions. You can build ships. You can just have fights. There's so much gameplay in there. It's insane. The next one is Iron Sky Invasion. That's on the list because I didn't like the movie. I couldn't get through it for some reason. I don't even remember why. I got through like 20 minutes. I'm like, this is maybe too cheesy for even me. But the game is shockingly good. Like, it's kind of Star Raiders, where you're jumping around a map, fighting things, and then doing missions, and then fighting more things and doing missions. It's very Star Raiders-y. And you're fighting giant space blimps and stuff. And it's fun and great and shockingly engaging. Like, that one really shocked me. Children of a Dead Earth. I don't know if y'all played that one. That one is like, what if someone took Kerbal Space Program and made a war game out of it? That's basically what they did. It's basically combat Kerbal Space Program. It's insanely realistic. Fighting with another ship is like an exercise in patience and aiming and getting it just right. Because like, you can't just shoot a missile and have it hit. You got to like aim it just right and take orbital mechanics into account. It's so detailed, and yet it's amazing. Like, I'm terrible at it, but it's amazing. Drox Operative. Now, we were surprised by this one because before this, Soldeck had made strictly territorial based ARPGs and entirely fantasy, nothing sci-fi at all. It was all fantasy. So not only were they making a sci-fi game, it was a space game. And we're like, okay, well, we love your previous games, but is this going to work? And if you haven't surmised by now, it worked. Because it's like, there's nothing else like it. It's basically you're playing an ARPG inside of 4X. There's nothing else like it. And to this day, there still is nothing else like it. And so that game is still surprising. And the final one on the list is Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. Because, while we liked Starhammer, their previous game, when we heard it was a Battlestar Galactica game, you get that feeling when there's ever a media tie-in game. You're like, oh no, this is probably going to be crap, because so many of them
especially from a media tie-in that hasn't had really good past games. Like the best thing that we ever got in the past was the Diaspora. And there was like a top-down shooter, space shooter that they did. And there was apparently like a browser-based online game that
there was.
I played a lot of Battlestar Galactica Online back then.
The console game that came out in 2004 was excellent.
There was that one, but just again, you're talking about in a sea of all these other, you're not really looking forward to the next Battlestar game because it's just there's not. Yeah, it's just not an IP that you see a lot from. Yeah, when they first announced it, they're like, Battlestar Galactica? I mean, it kind of makes sense, but really? Okay, I don't know. I was super nervous about this when they first announced it, and I was like, well, they're making it in the same engine as this other game, which is pretty decent. I mean, I could see it working, but I'm not holding my breath because, again, you're just like, don't screw it up. Yeah, please don't screw it up. Yeah. They hit it out of the park. Oh God, yes. God, yes. They not only that, but some of the stuff that you can there's the whole CIC thing now where you can actually walk around like a CIC and you can interact with the different panels for your missions. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I hadn't played it in a while, so I hadn't seen the new CIC stuff because I think that didn't come out originally. At least that's part of the latest expansion. Yeah, that's part of the. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I wonder if they'll do the Pegasus for the next expansion. How awesome would that be? That'd be crazy. Also, props to them actually making the CIC to proper show scale, unlike Star Trek Online. Blood. Well, no. Well, okay, so to address that real quick, Star Trek Online, they have made amends in some areas, right? So you can buy bridge layouts that are to scale from the TV show. Oh, so I can get the Next Generation bridge, and it'll actually give me the Next Generation engine room, 10 forward, and it's all to scale. Okay. They redid Deep Space Nine, and that's all to scale. So but there's some bridges still on there where you're just like, how does this fit on the Defiant? This is too big. But
it's bigger on the inside. I swear. I swear.
Yeah, it's like Starship TARDIS over here. What's up?
But what were you gonna say? You were gonna say another game.
Oh, I was gonna say well, I kind of lost my
crap. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'm sorry. No.
It's okay. Oh, I was gonna say, so they did a spin-off show called Battlestar Galactica Blood and Chrome that was heavily CG based. CG based. And the story itself was quite interesting and I was liking it. But when they showed the CIC in there, it was 4 times bigger. And all of a sudden internally in the Galactica they had giant tram rails that ran from bow to stern inside the ship that you had like subway cars inside of the Galactica. I was like, where was this? Why is the bridge so darn huge? Or the CIC. But yeah, I was thankful that they made the CIC to scale with the show.
Was that the one with young Adama? Was that Blood and Chrome?
Yeah.
That was not great.
No, the execution of the story was horrible. The story that they were trying to tell, I was interested. Kind of like Caprica. I was intrigued by what they were trying to say in Caprica, but their execution wasn't that great. Although I will argue that Caprico was a much better show than Blood and Chrome was. Ooh, by leaps and bounds. And that's not saying much. But anyway.
That really isn't. No, that's fine. I mean, this podcast is built on tangents. So don't
swerve.
Just get one of those record scratch sound effects. For those of you who know what records are, that's not true anymore. A lot of more people are buying records than CDs now.
Now to steal from another podcast, when you're making a video game based around Full Life, you wanna make sure that you don't alienate the fan base. So you got to be sure that you build it to scale. I recommend watching the show all the way through at least once. That way you have an understanding. This old house, space game junkie.
Oh my god. Okay, so to explain,
this old starship.
Yes, to explain, there's a podcast we listen to called The Greatest Generation, which is a recap podcast of Star Trek: The Next Generation and now Deep Space. They're in Deep Space Nine now, and they're very funny, but they have bits, and one of their bits is this old Enterprise. And so they kind of go into like a kind of Bob Vila Boston-y accent. When you're building your starship, you want to make sure your railings are to OSHA compliance. You don't want to have anyone fall off your upper deck when a panel explodes. You know, it's just... Because that's what panels do in Star Trek. They all explode.
Now, when you're putting chairs on your starship, you want to make sure that they're waist high, so your first officer.
Oh, that poor guy. I read he does that because
the Riker sit.
I read he does that because he got some kind of back injury on a show at some point. There's
a really funny meme where it shows it's like a freeze frame of Riker going to sit in a chair as he's like swinging his leg over it, and it's just like you gotta watch your Riker every now and then. He might urinate on the furniture or something stupid like that. It's really fun. It's really funny.
Oh, that makes so much more. That makes so much sense. Well, we actually have a tie for most. We actually have a tie for most surprising space game, and I mean, once we put all this list together, we couldn't choose between Drox Operative and Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. So for us, it really had to be both of them. I mean, it's the only category in which we have a tie, and it was too painful to choose between those two because they're both so good. They're just both so fantastic. So yeah, we have a tie for most surprising space game: Drox Operative, Battlestar Galactica. Last two categories. First is worst. The worst space game, and this was a hard list to put together because we've been very lucky these last 10 years, and then a lot of the space games we've gotten have been at least okay, if not good. We have been very, very lucky that the quality of space games we've been getting have been more on the positive than the negative. But that said, there are some standouts. Kinetic Void, if you don't remember, was supposed to be how did they even pitch it? Some kind of procedural universe where you can build your own ship and do missions and fight with factions, and none of that ever happened.
There is a ship builder, but it's buggy.
That's really it. Though. There's like nothing else. There's like no missions.
And the ship builder itself is buggy. So you can try to build a ship, and you may fail, and you probably will fail. And then if you manage to build a ship, you can take it out into the wider world, which is mostly empty space, and there's nothing there to fight or do much of anything with because it's not finished. It was just abandoned.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a good game to begin with. So that's definitely on the list. Galactic Inheritors was a 4X game that was supposed to have the dynamic of public opinion, as well as research and combat. And it was so boring. Like, just so... It might be one of the most dull 4X games I've ever played. Like, It had no character. It had no style. It had no chutzpah, no oomph. It had like nothing. And the graphics weren't even good. It was just so boring. So that one was really just... The next game, same thing, Cosmonautica. Supposed to be a kind of... you have a ship, you have a crew, you have to manage your crew while you're doing missions, and you have to keep them happy. It's kind of like a space survival game where you have to keep them fed and happy as they go from one place to the other. They made the going from one place to another part so boring because you don't do anything. You're basically like, here's some food. They have a bed. Okay, they're fine. It's like you're just staring at it. You're not even doing anything at all.
The concept was great, but the execution was just so lacking.
So lackluster.
It had no personality.
Oh God!
I wanted it to be good.
Yes.
And the idea of you've got these trade runs that you can take on. Okay, that sounds cool. You got these crew you got to keep alive. You have to make sure that you have enough supplies to make it between one place to another. Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. But
it ended up falling flat.
Like Hyperspace Delivery Service is a game in a very similar vein, but that game was fun. That game was actually enjoyable to play. Whereas this one was just a snooze fest. Lords of the Black Sun is another 4X game that was as boring as it is forgettable. I actually forgot about it until I saw it on... if you don't know, we have a wiki on SpaceGameJunkie.com that has every space... God damn it.
I'm so sorry.
No, do not be sorry. That was great.
We are all sorry. We are all sorry.
We have a wiki that lists pretty much every space game released for the computer between Space War and now. And so I was looking through the list of the last decade, and I had completely forgotten about Lords of the Black Sun because it was so bad. So bad. And boring. Kind of like Cosmonautica, but it was like one of the most lackluster 4Xs I've ever seen. The next game, I don't even know what to explain with this. It's called Space Tycoon, and it's kind of like a space battle and space station simulator game that does neither of them well. I think it was like a mobile port that had microtransactions, but like it feels like what it was a mobile port that had microtransactions to speed things up. And they took out the microtransactions for the PC game and didn't speed anything up. So that's what I remember of it. So that one was just... I was angry. It's rare I run into a game that saps my joy of gaming and I have to walk away from my computer for a while. I don't know if you guys have ever run into that scenario, but that game did that for me. I had to walk away for a good half a day. And finally, Space-Based DF9.
Actually, I have one more to add to the list, but go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, yes.
No, go ahead. I never even played. I never even played it because I was waiting for it to be finished. I also did ask for a copy and never got one, prophetically. But I was like, okay, you know what? If you're not going to send me a copy, I'll just wait until it's finished. And then one day they're like, you know what? We're not working on this anymore. Bye. Wait a minute. You can't just... What? What about all the people who bought this thing? What about them?
Now I'm going to toss the other one onto the list here.
Do it.
Okay, because you remember this one. It made you angry. It made me angry.
We're using Trello.
Star Smashers.
Yeah, that one was really bad. That one was kind of a gut punch just now.
Because it hit you. It just hit you because I just reminded you of it. Sorry.
It's okay.
But Star Smashers. So Star Smashers was kind of billed as a, you've got a little fleet to control and you got to get from one place to the other. And you got this little campaign to play through. and the combat was infuriating.
Yes.
Because it seemed like it was a mobile port. I'm pretty sure it was a mobile port. So to trigger your abilities to fire your weapons, you had to click in certain places on the screen. And it would have worked fine with a touch interface. But these things would have little timers before they could be readied again, and then you had to click on them. But the enemy would actually continue to do stuff while your timers were going.
Yeah.
So the combat was just infuriating. It was infuriating because you could lose, not because you couldn't do anything, but because you couldn't control the mouse cursor to get it to where you need to click in order to trigger your abilities. So you waste time. And you just continually waste more time as you lose and lose and lose. It was beyond frustrating.
Yeah, I think I saw that in the list, and I think my eyes just kind of went, nope. Like, I don't remember. I don't remember that one. Yeah, that was really terrible. So should we change our winner then? Because that one was a real gut punch. But I think our winner is probably still.
I think Star Smashers makes a good runner up.
Yeah.
Based on
I agree.
the list
I agree. I'm gonna add that right now. But yeah. The winner is Kinetic Void. Without a doubt. Just horrible up, down, and all around. Like all the way down. Just a pile of garbage. Just really the worst game of the last 10 years. The worst space game. Like, nothing has been lower, I don't think. Like, there have been bad games, but
there are some abandoned games that were better.
Yes. Oh God, you're right. Oh man. Yeah, so
Granted, Kinetic Void was also abandoned, but there are some games that, in their abandoned state, don't even come close to being as bad.
Oh God. So yeah, the winner, quote unquote, of that category is Kinetic Void, and in that instance, we're all the losers. All of us who paid for it and played it, we are all losers. We will never get that time or money back. I'm more angry about the time I lost trying to play it than the money. You can make money. I say you can't. It did
make for a great stream, though.
Oh my God. Yeah, I should. I've been streaming a lot of games I like. I should every now and again stream a game I don't, because people seem to like that. Oh yeah. Folks, our final category, as you might surmise, is Best Space Game. And this was a tough one because there have been a lot of great space games over the last 10 years. But only a few of them, I feel, have really been the top of the top in terms of the best, the cream of the crop, the best of the best. And so we have Starpoint Gemini Warlords, which just, I mean, that goes without saying, it's an amazing game. It's a third-person action-adventure space game with a 4X element. Like, and a good 4X element, plus tons of content. Like, you can play that for hundreds of hours and not see everything. So that game is really just astounding. Star Traders Frontiers, again, another just deep, long, open, beautiful, detailed game that you can just totally get lost in for such a long time, because it's got politics and trading and combat and exploration, not just space exploration, but planetary exploration. You can like leave the city of a planet and go find things. For example, like there's just so many ways to play it.
Such a great sandbox to play in.
Such a great sandbox to play in. And they just keep adding to it. Like, it's amazing. It's like they've had almost 200 updates. And
yeah, the Tracy brothers are just amazing when it comes to updates. They're prolific. You can't stop them. I don't think you could stop them if you tried.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're robots or what, but they just, every update they have is significant, and they write so much about all their updates, and they've got such a plan to make this game like this all-encompassing space thing that It's just such an impressive achievement. We've talked about Drox Operative before, and I've said it's one of the best space games of the last decade. It really is. It is, again, an ARPG inside of a 4X game the computer is playing around you, and there is nothing else like it. There is absolutely nothing else like it at all. It's multiplayer, it's single player, there's all kinds of ways to win and lose, lots of toys to play with. If you like lasers, if you like mines, if you like fighters, it's all there. Plus, there are so many events and quests and ways to help and hurt your allies. It's just really an amazing thing. It's one of those games that I have to purposely avoid, because if I start playing it, I won't play anything else and nothing will get done for the blog. It's like one of those. Next up is, this had to be on the list, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. I know it's a rather recent entry, but who knew that we were actually going to wait 26 years for the Privateer sequel we actually all deserved? Rebel Galaxy was good. I enjoyed it, but I petered out at it after I reached the second star system, because it kind of felt like more of the same. But I don't know what they did with this game, but they nailed the formula. You've played through it, what now, 3 times? 4 times, Spaz?
No, I'm on my 5th playthrough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's the angle for this one? Or is it just
current
a
playthrough is my pirate playthrough.
Oh no.
That's why it's been taking a lot longer.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, because you can't dock at a lot of places for one thing. Oh man. How far are you in right now on that one, would you say?
What I decided to do was to play lawful up until the point where I've got my personal shipyard set up, and yes. Then I go pirate. Then yes. I go pirate, and then complete the story doing it that way. So I'm playing it a little bit roundabout, but I'm taking longer.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. You're gonna have a much harder time building up Bountiful Vista if you're on the wrong side of the law. So that makes sense.
Exactly.
So yeah. And the final game on the list again is 3030 Death War. Now, folks, if you haven't played 3030 Death War Redux, it's hard to speak higher of a space game. It's got great, everything about this game works. There are some games where getting from point A to point B is boring. Not so with this game. There are some games where the missions don't pay out well or they're boring. Not so with this game. There are some games where there aren't enough ships to play with, or there's not enough variety of toys to play with. Not with this game. There's some games where the story is not very compelling or funny. Not with this game. This game, in my opinion, does pretty much everything right. We talked about soundtrack. Got one of the best soundtracks ever. If you haven't played it, it's hard. I find it amazing when a game can make just getting from point A to point B engaging and fun. Where it's not just okay, fine, I'll just fly to the station now. Something about the way you move through the universe in 3030 Death War is almost a game unto itself, because you have to. It's kind of amazing because if you're inside a system, you move slower when you're in the split slot. It's the warp drive, basically, of the game. You move slower because you're in a gravity well. When you're outside the system, you move a lot more quickly. And so sometimes you'll be having to get to another system and you'll have to dodge other systems to maintain your speed, or else you'll be like, why am I going slower? And you have, but it never gets tedious. You have to worry about fuel, but fuel is cheap. And you can always have some on hand so you can refuel on the go, or you can buy a fuel scoop to get close enough to the sun to get fuel for free. So that's the only way you're not zipping around the universe. And you could still use your split drive when you're out of fuel, just a lot slower.
So Brian, I think what you're saying is this is not Elite Dangerous.
Yes.
It's gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure. Never mind. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's like some games get almost everything right, and then like they have boring missions, or some games almost get everything right, and then their mission payouts are so low that you're never going to make any money, like Objects in Space. Or some games don't get transit right, like Vendetta Online, which getting to point A to point B for me was the most boring thing in the world. This game does it all right, and so I don't know if you can tell, but it is our winner of the best space game of the last decade. Is 3030 Death War Redux. Redo.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're listening to this podcast, if you are a longtime listener of this podcast and you don't already own this game, grab it on the next sale or grab it when you can afford it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you need to own this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is funny, which is a rarity among space games. It's got a great story. It's one of those games you can keep playing after the story is done. There are dozens of ships of all different varieties, from a little jetpack, a little EVA jetpack suit, to a jet bike, to huge freighters and cruisers and whatnot. And you can do all sorts of missions, from taking pictures to racing to scavenging for wrecks to mining to delivery to taxi. There are a multitude of ways to make money in the game, and they're all fun. And the derelicts are procedurally generated, so they're all different. And again, it's got like one of the best soundtracks in gaming, if not the best. So when you're playing it and you hear this amazing music, you just get pumped up to play more. So it's just hard to say enough good things about 3030 Death War Redux, but it is our game of the decade. It is our space game of the decade because it just gets really everything right. And some of you might say it's not fair because the original version came out in 2007. And I don't know if I can give you that, because it felt like, compared to this, it felt kind of incomplete. Like, this feels like the final version. Like, this feels like the 1.0 of that game, you know? Like the version it should have always been. So that's why we feel comfortable giving it to 3030 Death War Redux. Redo. Is it Redo? It's Redo, isn't it? Redux. Because it just has something for everyone. And again, Eve, you can fly into a nebula and have an alien have sex with your ship, and then you will not take damage from the nebula. That's the kind of game this is. It will hump your ship, and then you will no longer take damage flying through the nebula. So that's the kind of game we're talking about. And it's just
such a huge sandbox, and there's so much to do.
Yeah, you don't have to do the story.
You will
at
not
all.
run out of stuff to do.
Nope.
Yeah, you will not run out of stuff to do.
Nope. And there are so, like, you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna keep playing, and then you see the ship you want, like, oh, I have to keep playing. I need 4 million more credits to get that thing. Okay. What's a really good? Oh, there's a bounty on this guy? Okay, 75,000 credits. I'll kill that guy. Bounty hunting is another thing you can do, and it's so fun. Yeah, and there's racing. And the racing is fun. It's challenging. So there's like ways you can make money, like you get an achievement if you visit every race. If you visit every system in the game in a certain amount of time, you not only get an achievement, you get 1 million credits. So it's worth it to explore and find all the other systems as well. So
1 million space bucks.
Yes, exactly, which is a lot. So yeah, 3030 Death War, game of the decade, space game of the decade. There have been a lot of great games this decade, a lot of great games, but nothing really comes close to the all-encompassing, complete, and amazing package that is this game. So again, like Spaz said, if you don't own this, it is not expensive. If you don't own this, get it on sale. Get it when you can. You will be happy you did. I just streamed, if you want to spoil yourself a little bit, I just streamed all of the campaign over 5 entries if you want to watch one of those, to see how fun the game is. And I think we sold at least a few copies to people while I was playing it. Like, I think there were at least a few people who bought the game while I was streaming it because, like, it looks so much fun. It is so much fun. It is so much fun.
I mean, if you liked Space Rangers HD, for example, this is kind of in that vein without the RTS combat and without the turn-based nature of, where you have that tactical pause of Space Rangers. It hits a lot of the same notes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more fast and frenetic, and I see that as a good thing.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong; they're both great games.
I think I think the pacing, as you're saying, works for me better a little bit with 3030 Death War, because I kind of petered out of Space Rangers, as you saw.
Yeah, during your last playthrough, I understand that.
Yeah,
and you kind of have to be in that right mindset for the way that Space Rangers plays out. But with 3030 Death War, not so much, because you can jump in and pick whatever you want to do and do it.
Yeah, it's because once you get a ship with a split drive, it never takes too long to get anywhere. Because again, you're moving really fast, and that's another great thing. Is it again that you're never spending too much time going from point A to point B, but going there is still fun. Like it's a fun road trip almost. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing how good that freaking game is, but like they really freaking nailed it. So that'll do it for we didn't come up with I was gonna try and come up with a name for this award show, and all I could think of was the Junkies, and I'm like, no.
Hey man, you got any more of them space games?
There are always more where that came from.
There really are. This day and age, we're very fortunate that we're in this golden age of gaming.
Hey, man, the first one's free.
So, yeah. At least it's not free to play.
That'll do it.
Transactions will get you.
So that'll do it for this episode, because we're at the end of the content. So just some programming notes, folks. Tomorrow on the stream, I'm going to fumble my way through Hitman. Which will probably be hilarious because I'm terrible at it. I have no patience. And so trying to play this kind of open world game where you have a multitude of ways to kill a target and not get caught is difficult for me because I just want to run up there and kill him. And that never works.
You should play the song. What was that song? So Many Ways to Die or whatever while you're playing that game.
There really are. There really are so many ways to die in that game. Thursday... for the morning stream, we have this first-person shooter I got a key for that looks interesting. It's kind of a first-person shooter role-playing game thing called Alienautics, which I'm kind of interested in. And then Thursday afternoon for the LAN
party. Is that like a new workout routine? Alienautics.
If you only have two knees, work them this way. But if you are a quadruped, work them this way.
There you go.
And then Thursday afternoon for our LAN party, we are going to try, because apparently it was fixed recently, the co-op of Aliens Colonial Marines. Apparently that's actually good now. So I'm excited to try it. And it was really cheap lately, so I'm excited to try it. And then Friday, we're going to start a new long play series. I'm hoping I can maintain the momentum, because these open games can be tricky. We're going to try Evercron Legacy. That's a overtly open space game in the vein of Jumpgate and Elite Dangerous. And I played it for a while, and then I kind of petered out, so I'm going to try it again, give it a little more love, because it deserves more attention, and we'll see how long I last with that one. And then next week, we'll start back up again with Deep Space Nine, The Fallen.
I'm gonna have to watch that series. I'm excited.
Yeah, we started it this week, and I had a great
copy of that game.
It's such a frustrating and yet fun game, because some of the design things they did in that game are stupid. Like there was a part where I had to get in a door, and I kept walking up to the door, and it wouldn't open. I'm like, so I shot the door, nothing. I put a mine on the door, nothing. There's a small panel next to the door I barely noticed because it's almost the same color as the background. You got to walk up to that panel, and then your character pushes a button, and then the door opens. That was 10 minutes to figure that out. Love it.
Don't feel bad, and I'll tell you why.
Stupid game. Why?
I I played Riven, the sequel to Myst, for 5 years before I figured out how to win. And I literally... No, check this out. I literally had done everything, and it's like I'm at the very end, and it has to do with this one particular device. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out how to get it to go lower, and it's supposed to go lower and break the glass on this thing in order for the in-game like sequence to like it's a long cutscene and all this other stuff. But anyway, like it took me 5 years before I found the little doohickey switch that you flip up that like blocks the lock from yeah.
Oh.
Okay, of course, I was also a lot younger, but like still, it took me 5 years to figure out how to freaking win that game.
I don't feel so bad now. You're right. I don't feel so bad. Lance2185. Lance2185 on Twitch. Apparently, there was like one bit of code that broke the AI of the aliens, and they fixed it. Like there was one. It was what was it? One character in a line of code that like broke their AI that it took them years to find and fix. Was something like that?
Basically, it's something like that. Yeah, that it broke the alien AI so that they would just kind of wander around and not actually, they do things like walk into walls and ignore the players, and it would just be broken.
Yeah, and then apparently the fix was a tiny little bit of code that apparently fixed everything.
Man, it's like one little character can screw a whole bunch of things up. I mean,
oh my god,
Office Space too. In Office Space they had that. It's like it's always one little decimal place.
I never put the decimal in the right place. What? It's been too long since I've watched that movie.
And for anybody who's also into Star Wars, Star Wars, every Sunday on my Twitch channel, I do a Star Wars stream starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We've been having a really good time, so if you guys want to come check that out. This last Sunday, I took a break from KOTOR because it was pissing me off to play a little Star Wars Galaxies, and we had a blast. So, yeah, guys, if you like Star Wars, come check it out.
And you can find links to all that on our Discord server, which you can find a link to below if you're on YouTube or Twitch, or even I think Mixer has a link. But you can also find the link to our Discord server on SpaceGameJunkie.com, and then you can see when Hunter, because he has a channel that he pings whenever he goes live, so you can follow him there.
Also, to add to that, if you guys like Star Trek and you want to play Star Trek Online with us, we have a fleet. We've gotten a few new. We've been actively doing that throughout the week and doing a lot of task force operations as a group. If we can get a minimum of 5 of us on a regular schedule, we can do our own private task force fleets and have way more fun. So, if you're interested, come check out our Discord and fleet up with us.
And don't forget that Star Trek Online is free to play, so you have no excuse.
As it turns out, they're even doing another sale on lifetime subs starting on the 24th. So,
oh no, I might have to
plus they are doing plus they're adding the make another Jem'Hadar character, make a new Jem'Hadar character, and they've got this promotion going on for that.
Wait, what?
So it's a very limited time thing.
So wait, you can have multiple Jem'Hadars?
You make a new Jem'Hadar character during this event, and you'll get bonuses that can apply to your entire account if you complete all of these different challenges. It's a huge recruitment event coming.
When does that?
I'll be making a new character.
When does that start? I'll do that too. Okay.
Yeah, the 24th. Make a new Jem'Hadar character and get into that.
I want to say at the given moment, there's probably about 5 of us active, but not all at the same time. So if we get more people on where we can have a rough group of 5 active on more of a regular basis, it gets a lot more fun, especially when you're doing things with people. And
just when we have 3 people on, we're still having a lot of fun. But it would be more fun if we could get a full party every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, folks, if you're listening and are into Star Trek Online, hit us up on Discord. Join our fleet. Or if you're not into Star Trek Online, check it out. It's, again, free to play. And it's great in some ways, not so great in others. Just know that going in. But it's got so much content that even if you have a passing interest in Star Trek, you will find something you enjoy, because it's got just everything, like freaking everything. That's going to do it for this episode of the Space Game Junkie podcast. If you want to find out how to support Space Game Junkie and help it become a full-time endeavor, you can go to spacegamejunkie.com/support, where you can find links to things like Patreon, affiliate links, our merch store. Every dollar helps. But even if you can't help financially, which we totally understand, just hanging out with us on a stream or engaging with us on our Discord or Facebook or whatever, that's all great. We love all of you, and we thank you for really spending your time with us, even more than your money, because time is valuable. And there are other podcasts you can listen to and other streams you can listen to and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that you spend your time with us really, really means the world. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And we will see you. Oh, and next week, we are going to have the developer of Void Eclipse on. That is kind of a mix of collectible card game and 4X. That is launching a Kickstarter next week. So that'll be interesting. So that's going to be our guest next week. So as always, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. If you haven't subscribed to the MP3, just go do that.
Yeah, I mean, any way you engage with us, whether it's a comment on our videos or a thumbs up, any of that helps. Because we know that you're paying attention to what we're doing. You like what we're doing. We'll keep doing more of it.
Yeah,
so
it's really a motivator.
Let us know.
It's really a big motivator. So thank you so much again for hanging out with us. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. where I get a bald man killed repeatedly. Have a good night, everyone.